Keep the ESL Pro Tour going. The DreamHack Master Series has been an absolute ball so far, and we are rounding in on the final stages, second last day of the Chinese region. In the bottom left-hand side, this, of course, is Invictus Gaming's XY. The veteran in this matchup.
Old Man River. And it's up right here. This guy zipping into this TVT. They faced off before, their teammates, but who will come out on top this time, this best of 5? In the red, this is Coffee. Coffee's actually been around for a hot minute. A lot of people that watch, you know, the super fans of StarCraft. I'm talking about like the, you know, your Geminis, your Borshtis, the people that do nothing but watch StarCraft when they have spare time. Would have already known about Coffee from WCS Challenger North America, where he got in a couple seasons. Actually got some good maps and some good series wins against some of the people that everyone knows and loves, but you know, not everyone watched every single broadcast of Challenger. I know I did, because you know, when I'm casting a main event for WCS, I'm like, well, better prep and watch the series, or as many series as I can, about the players that are going to qualify. And Coffee was definitely in the way of a lot of people that did qualify. Coffee unfortunately didn't, but he was in the way of people that did, and he looked real good in a couple of those games, so that's why he stuck with me. Also, his name is my favorite caffeinated beverage of all time, so that also helped the name stick.
Yep. What would we be without the productivity drug, Maynard?
Exactly.
Definitely bumps me up. I actually skipped my one tonight. I had one last night, and then we ended the broadcast so quickly, and I couldn't sleep straight away. So I was like, you know what? I'm feeling great tonight. We're not going to have a coffee at 11 p.m. in the evening. Probably not the wisest idea. And I think the games are more than enough to keep me active and alert here. So good to see the quick expand out of Coffee. That's a build order which is very rare these days. It's your tech is so slow. It really is hard to kind of hang on. He's actually going Reaper Marine Reactor, which is very risky if your opponent just rallies Reaper Hellion across. He is going to get a bunker very early, so I guess it's okay. But if 2 Reapers jump up into your main straight away, you literally are just like, oh, I'm going to lose 3 SCVs and my factory might get delayed. It's like a very risky build order. I think this tells us Coffee knows that XY maybe not the most aggressive opener. Gonna wait for the Hellion at the very least, and there at 4, Coffee should get away with this.
Yeah, he is getting away with it, and you're quite right. Like, every TVT that I've seen has been... Well, actually, there was one game where Coffee did this as well, the 1 gas expand. But every other game is usually 2 gas. Like, whether you keep it fully saturated and you go up in a starport and you're a bit more 1-basey, or you keep 2 or 3 SCVs out of gas and you expand relatively quickly, you still get a much faster factory than a 1 gas expand. But the point is, you get both your refineries in pretty much every TVT build order that I've seen lately. So yeah, bit old school, bit on the greedy side, obviously, but as Pig mentioned, Coffee is getting away with it. There's no pressure from XY. If XY was doing something a little bit more YOLO, you can definitely sometimes just die when you do this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think what I've found from personal experience as well, and talking to a few Terran pros about why does almost everyone go double gas these days? Like, why do we so rarely see the 1 racks? And usually what I hear is it's just so hard to cover every option that could come your way, right? Because scouting's kind of limited, and there's so many things that could hit you. But this is awesome. The Reaper jumps in as the army leaves.
Huge.
Oh, that is just perfect timing from Coffee. And I think that's his game sense as well. He knows 3 minutes 50. A lot of the time people move out around then. Times it out to come in. Good for a repair from XY, though. Oh, not quite enough. Still loses 2 SCVs there. But I like the repair, buying a bit of time. Could have been 3 SCVs otherwise. And it looks like he will be moving forwards to assert a bit of map control. But not only is there so many different things, like, you know, it could be Banshees, could be a drop very quickly, could be the tank elevator. It's hard to cover them all off of it. But even minutes down the track, when it's like, well, look at this SCV count grow, there's just the fact that the tech is out earlier. And that can be huge. It can decide a game. So depending on how XY plays this out, there's always a chance when it comes to that first clash with a couple of Ravens and tanks on both sides. He's just got more Raven energy, has 1 or 2 more units, and the first fight is usually a huge momentum swing in this matchup.
You are not wrong. And sometimes that first fight happens right at the beginning of the game, and it can end that quickly as well. I've seen plenty of Reapers and Hellions just end the game for TVT as well. Not unlike my own games. Win and lose. Get to experience plenty of those, that's for sure. Hundreds even. But right now we see that Coffee is getting a much faster 3rd CC, continuing to be a little bit more on the greedy side versus XY. Double engineering bay as well. Like, he is shooting up in tech here. Coffee's basically lining himself up with these choices to be a lot stronger economically and tech-wise than XY is later. Like, he's investing in himself later. Whereas XY has quite a few pieces to use now, and that's his advantage, is he has a bigger army. He's going to have a third Raven as well, so that's quite a powerful pushing force.
And building the third on location as well, it's like a nice way to like make up for that economic deficit. But I guess the scary thing is once those marine upgrades kick in, right, Maynard? Because I think as long as he hits before Stim and 1-1, XY could take a really good fight. Once those are there, I think everything pays off for Coffee.
Yeah, completely agree. Like, everything looks like on paper that Coffee is going to look really good in a couple minutes when 1-1 is done, Stim's done, combat shield's done or on the way. He's going to have a better army, straight up. He's going to have a lot of Marines, more Marines, and he's going to be looking for a battle because he is very much investing in those upgrades, and it's a wonderful timing. Whenever upgrades finish, that is the perfect time to try and do something with your army. And XY is still being quite passive with his army, even with 3 Ravens, still just chilling. He really seems like he's keen to hang back, which unfortunately is kind of exacerbating Coffee's lead a little bit. You see the army supply is starting to catch up, which means Coffee's production is starting to really kick in. Unfortunate supply block there on 101, but it's only a small one. But you can see that he's got more workers, his third's up, his 1-1 upgrades 2/3 of the way done now. And this push, I feel like XY should have been the one to push here, but Coffee's going to be the one to do it first.
Yeah, I think this is still playable. You got 3 Ravens versus 1, so if you get value out of those, it's always okay. It's TVT, strong defender's advantage. I mean, it's only 4 SCVs. It's the barracks timing that's the big thing, right? There's going to be a huge marine count advantage. So it kind of forces XY now to go from us going, he should attack, maybe there's a timing, maybe he could find damage and punish, to like the complete opposite, right? We get this bird's eye view where we can see everything, and we know that now, like, just sit at home. Don't move out, XY. Keep your tank siege, because you get caught in the middle of the map against those 1-1 Marines with Stim and Shields. You're going to get wiped off the face of this map. So I like that he's getting the Viking advantage, though. What XY does need to do is drop a scan pretty soon, because realizing that his opponent's in medevac production, he needs to cut Viking production earlier rather than later. There's no point getting more than 6 Vikings if your opponent's not contesting the skies. They're just a super overpriced marauder, essentially. Yeah, with a little bit more range. But I think that the problem for XY here is that, yeah, if he goes too heavy into Vikings, Coffee's been making Marines non-stop here. XY has not been making Marines non-stop. He's actually, his Marine count is nowhere near Coffee's. So you add that into the upgrade advantage, combat shields finishing, an extra 10 hit points and all his Marines, which Coffee has a lot more of. He's got a much more powerful army here. This is, I mean, apart from the fact that he has less Ravens, I like Coffee's army a lot. I would definitely rather be the Red Terror in this situation. That 4th command center is sticking out like a sore thumb. XY puts it out in a very exposed location, and that's something that Coffee will want to take out here. Good chance that gets cancelled. It did just start, but there's a reason you always want to build that up in your main base.
Yeah, easy cancel there for Coffee. Tanks out of range on both sides, even with the air advantage and the scans, not able to hit each other there. And that is the power of the air advantage in TVT. Never forget that tanks can shoot further than they can see, so owning the skies is definitely a big advantage in TVT, which XY has right now. But you cannot ignore the power of the sheer swarm of Marines that you can get out when you play this kind of style that Coffee is doing at the moment.
Very uninteractive TVT so far, Maynard. Yeah, that was the push, and it was cancel the command center, unsiege, and walk away. We're going to see a really slow TVT evolve to the latter stage. Now, do you try to take control of the skies as Coffee? Do you get antsy? Do you start sending drops in on the flanks? I think a drop in below the natural is probably the best path, because obviously XY is covering the left side with turrets and Vikings and so on. Still got a lot of medevacs in there. No medevacs for XY. XY keeping no vision on the right. Oh, this is really dangerous.
Yeah, certainly. Coffee trying to dive into that natural here. Does get an interference matrix on the one tank, but sieged up. His tanks are actually going to annihilate these Marines on the right side. Oh, never mind. There's those Ravens. Interference matrices on every single one. Goodbye, tanks.
Triple Raven, Maynard.
Oh my god.
That's what we were waiting for. We're like, why isn't he pushing with the Ravens? Coffee's like, yeah, let's push in. I'm ahead. No, XY slaps it down.
It's that old man river patience, man. XY is like that alligator that's 120 years old, sitting in the swamps. All you can see is his beady little eyes popping up across the top of the water, cresting just above the water, barely a ripple. waiting for Coffee to get into that water, thinking there's nothing there, and then snap, death roll.
Oh, dude, you know, it really looked like XY screwed up as well. I was like, dude, this is lazy map control. He didn't have Marine Spotter on the right. I cannot believe he let him in here. Oh, he's totally, he's really happy to let him in here. Oh, okay. It was maybe even a plan. Definitely a good reaction under pressure. He's dropping a 5th command center. XY. Oh, boy, is this the final game versus Cyan yesterday? We're just going to mass command centers. All right, buddy.
I'm looking forward to the next 40 Vikings.
Well, you know, the big problem in that game against Cyan yesterday was if you play Mega Turtle, you need to make late game units. And XY never made late game units. He just made Vikings and tank saw game. But if he swaps to BCs here, Ravens, uses those well, like already Raven upgrades on the way, absolutely. Those are value units in the long term. So I really like this. But in TVT, you've got mirrored units. If you know how to use Ravens really well, potentially add BCs in, like it's going to work to your favor.
Completely agree. And that the BC is definitely a unit that does not really care about your Marines. I've so many times I've watched even professional players send 30 Marines into a couple of really upgraded BCs, and the BCs just kill half of them and leave. And that's that. Like, that is the story of the BC versus the Marine. And they really can just tank for days. Yeah. XY is like, you know what? We're doing it right here. Let's not lose to a Doom Drop. And I feel that energy. I like that.
Yeah, indeed. In TVT especially, when you're playing such a defensive style, the command centers are coming down on the expansions. Coffee expanding quickly. Coffee has not begun the Iron Bank Maynard. He has not begun building the extra command centers to have mass orbital. XY is doing that. XY did that fantastically yesterday against Cyan. Is what will give him a lead here as this game goes on. He'll have a lot more scans and mules available.
He's got himself a couple Ravens as well. Now, obviously, Coffee is also heading in that direction. Got Corvid reactor going down for both players. Not a ton of Raven production, though. I think there might still only be one starport for Coffee, oddly enough. So XY definitely has an advantage in that regard. He's going to overtake his Raven count soon. Oh, he does have 3 starports. He's only producing off 1. My bad.
Right. Yeah, I guess they probably just finished. Might have forgot the tech labs. No Liberator for XY. When you've got air control and you're turtling, I really feel just 1 Liberator in here. Just so you can, if he sieges there, you can just siege a Liberator on that, you know, kind of force the air battle, let your Viking count work. Oh my lord.
Coffee. Welcome to Turretville. Oh. Well, those 3 Marines, excuse me, 7 Marines.
Yeah, well, he gets 3 SCVs there, Maynard. I want to see the battle report pop up on the screen. Have we got that mod on right now?
Oh my god, yeah.
I'd like to see that.
Dude, Fleet does the flying, infantry does the dying.
Oh, the battle report is actually, we don't need, the battle report doesn't pick up units that die in transports. So
okay.
There's actually another like 20 Marines there that weren't accounted for. So those numbers live. Yeah.
There's 3 full medevacs, yeah. 8 Marines per medevac, so. Yep, not good. Not good at all for Coffee. It's just XY knowing how this kid likes to play. Knowing that Coffee wants to pick a fight, he wants to get in his face. XY is so patient. And this time, not looking super patient. He comes into a bit of a funnel, actually. Not a great fight there for XY. I'm glad he pulled back.
Oh, Ravens, ouchies. Anti-armor missile lands on nothing there. Not sure, it must have been a unit that died. 3-3 is going to finish up for XY and close that upgrade gap on the Marines. But I still look at this and I kind of wonder what sort of play XY is actually looking to make in this game. Because, I mean, you can defend all day, but right now, I don't... I mean, you're on almost pure tank. I mean, Ravens usually work when you're Marine heavy. He's not Marine heavy. So I kind of wonder, like, what are you planning to do here as XY? How are you ever going to push? I mean, you can inch across the map, but there's going to be too much supply in Raven Viking.
Yeah, like, dude, don't get me wrong. I love SimCity. City Skylines, a great game to relax to. Yeah, but just sitting back and maxing out and making sure that everyone's well fed and they're not too upset about taxes is not how you play StarCraft 2. You need to get out there, do something with your army. Otherwise, a lot of your advantages and your windows and your timings start to disappear. There are a lot of advantages that XY has had. Like, there was a big counterattack opportunity a little while ago that we didn't bring up. Like, after that initial wiping of the floor of those tanks with the interference matrix. I'm so surprised he didn't try and go across the map and make something happen.
Good point. Yeah. And he was obviously kind of down behind on the Marine upgrades. Didn't have great Marine production, but definitely was an opportunity to at least go assert control. And it definitely feels like this thing where XY is doing well on the defense, but Raven Viking and so many Vikings. I mean, let's look at that unit count one more time. Insano was pointing it out before. There's only 7 Vikings to 16, so got to be careful not to overcommit on the air as XY.
Well, he looks like he might actually get a few hit points off that command center. Medevac's just zigging when they should have zagged there. Oh my god, he killed it. I did not expect that. The Medevac's actually took one for the team there.
Still not a good trade though, cost for cost.
Yeah.
Denying a base does nothing at this stage of the game, right? So definitely, I'm waiting to see. I'm kind of like, where's the? I mean, obviously, battle cruisers is tough with Ravens already out on the map in such numbers. It's like, I don't know if that's the play when you've got, you know, an opponent with this many Ravens. But maybe start inching your way forward with these tanks. Get a few extra factories as well. So if you do get surrounded by Marines, you can replace your tanks 4 or 5 at a time. Definitely, I want to see XY show some moves to kind of assert control. It's Coffee, who looks a bit antsy. And to me, this feels like Coffee is antsy. And XY's whole game plan is, I want to just let the young gun get frustrated. Just gonna defend. I'm just gonna defend. I'm gonna wait till he gets annoyed at me not making any plays, gets over eager, attacks into my defenses, and fingers crossed he counterattacks next time, Maynard.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. You know, the game plan seems to be just fall on my sword because he's impatient and he wants to attack, and that's fine.
Ooh.
Oh, big interference matrix.
Oh,
big interference matrix.
Here. Those Ravens. They need to. I think maybe if they spammed auto turrets, they could have held it off there. Not many tanks, though. That base in the bottom right is going to get isolated here. Coffee just moving forward. Yeah, he takes out these tanks. XY spread way too thin. It's a mass Viking Raven army. And like I said before, you've got so much supply in Viking Raven. What do you do against just the Marine tank Raven? Because those Ravens, the Coffee, they drop their spells, they pull out of there. He doesn't actually need to fight you.
No, he certainly doesn't. And this is such a strong position to be in TVT, is to cut off one base and be in this kind of position where it's like one base is going to go down, something's going to go wrong for you, and then you can hopefully disengage and keep a lot of your resources still alive. A big battle here, auto turrets, spells being cast absolutely everywhere. It's honestly very hard to tell what's happening right now because of the sheer amount of spells being cast, but it looks like Coffee still reigning supreme in the team and the tank count. The Raven count's still looking okay, but a lot more Vikings for XY. So, I mean, his supply count is swearing right now, Pig. That's how upset he is.
Yeah, the Vikings gonna have to land to take this out. Autocar's gonna try and punish that. A lot of Ravens do get taken out on both sides. I think Coffee should have just pulled his air army out. He lost about 6 or 7 extra Ravens there that he didn't need to. Does kill all of the Ravens of XY though, so arguably worth it as both sides take massive losses.
What a huge trade. Look at how expensive that was for both of them.
That's like 15,000 resources for XY, almost as many for Coffee as well. Oh, look at what Coffee's doing with the expansion of the left side of the map, Maynard. Coffee's like, oh, you want to just sit there?
Tower.
You want to just sit there all game? Okay, I'll start taking literally the bases on your side of the map. Yeah. Coffee doesn't have a bank advantage. Remember that. Can we see the structures tab briefly? I'd love to see the orbital count on both sides. It is insane. 9 orbitals for XY, 7 for Coffee. So not only do they have massive amounts of scans, but also the mules can be dropped to replenish these armies. And I actually think this is kind of good for XY, that fight, because XY now feels confident to take that base on the right. As long as he denies the base on the left as well, he should be good. But I definitely feel a bit of a glacial pace from XY in terms of how his army moves around. It really does feel like we're watching a Chinese goodie almost, you know, a bit of an exaggeration, but he's just moving around the map slowly is XY, waiting for that opportunity. He's still focusing on that Viking count, I think, too hard. I'm not sure, but it feels... Actually, no. Coffee's committed a lot, so this is correct as long as he gets the lead.
And he's also going to Ravens, which I was going to... rather, Liberators, which I love. I think that having the air advantage and then going to Liberators is one of the best synergies you can get in TVT. It can sometimes negate tank positions, but XY is setting up turrets on those tank positions, which, you know, stops the Liberators, that's for sure. Dead in its tracks, but... Looks like a bit of an opening over here where the Liberator's going to try and hit that mineral line. Hold that thought. Coffee pushing through the middle. Vikings getting on top of other Vikings. Debuff on those Vikings on the right side, though, for XY. Coffee's Marines getting into a bunch of unsieged tanks here. Where are the Marines from XY?
Oh, I don't know if it matters, though. He had the missile turrets helping. His Vikings landed. He had 2 tanks shelling in the back of that army the whole time, Maynard. And Coffee actually gets wiped out, taking a bad engagement. And you know what? The Ravens are being rebuilt on either side, but I honestly feel this game's got scrappy enough. Whoever remaxes on heavier Marine actually has more of an advantage. Like, Marines right now, as the game has opened up, the counts are being diminished. Anything with mobility is going to give you a big advantage. I think because that's lacking, XY could absolutely push, at the very least, deny this base on the left. But why not go up the guts, go through the middle?
Yeah, I agree with you completely, and I think XY also does, as he's taken a big army supply lead. He's been hitting the Marine production key pretty hard. Coffee has been a little bit late to the party in it, and this counterattack from XY, it's finally happening. The Alligator is closing its 2.8 thousand tons worth of torque jaws here. Here it goes. Oh, the interference matrices. Wow. Oh my god.
Dude, good interference matrixes on the defense. The tanks are sieging. The Marines coming forward on both sides. I think the attack has been held in its tracks, Maynard. It looks like this command center will get lifted, but he will not be able to push any deeper than that.
Yeah, man. I mean, there is still a bit of a force here. He's forcing the lift up on the third base. He's killing a bunch of SCVs down here as well, which is nice, but Coffee's got a lot more where that came from. Coffee actually has a lot more of the map than XY does, and he's actually... yeah, I mean, these Marines are the scariest thing at the moment. There's only a couple of tanks. The Vikings, I guess, are a little bit scary as well because the Ravens can't really close the distance anymore on those tanks without being punished.
Okay, letting Coffee mine that left base is criminal at this point, Maynard. A single Liberator, a tank, a Marine behind the mineral line, anything could go there. This is criminal. XY has played such a slow game with his army movement, and this position's nice, but he's not actually finding any more ground. Yeah, he's got to move to the right, clear out these orbitals, get that planetary. That's a big tangible advantage.
Yeah, this is a nice position again, though. He's cut off the army from a bunch of free orbitals. He can pick that off on the right side. Like you said, he should definitely rotate some tanks down there. You don't want to be sending your Marines into a planetary. With tank support, you do. Oh, never mind. A big fight being picked here.
Crazy engagement from Coffee, but because of the interference matrices, he has confidence to take it. But it was the worst angle Coffee could have fought on. His Marines all clumped against that terrain on the left side. An unnecessary engagement for Coffee, who was mining more bases and recovering his army supply. But XY, he seems to know his opponent so well. Maynard, we're saying he's got to go cut him off. He's got to go take out the bases. XY seems to know that Coffee is impatient, overeager, and he just needs to set up the defensive position and wait. And as you said, Maynard, guess what? Coffee going to oblige him. Falls onto XY's sword, and XY looks like a genius.
He certainly does. It was patience. It was a TVT at a glacier's pace, where he's just like, I'm just going to sit back. The kid's going to attack me, and when he trades badly, which I know he will, we're going to eventually counterattack. And XY does found. I mean, this is a position where it's not really losable for XY anymore. Coffee's trying his best to hold on to the main base, but that is lights out, my friend. If there are a bunch of red units in the main base of XY with a giant Doom Drop or something like that, I'd be like, oh, hold on, maybe this game's a little bit weird, but this is absolutely XY's game, and there it is. Coffee taps. XY takes game one.
Very, very good play there from XY to turn that one around. It looked like, I was like, how do you ever attack here? What are you ever going to do? Well, turns out air control is pretty important in TVT. And that was just bloody well done, Maynard. A very exciting way to start the series. I was like, oh, this game's going to get really boring because they're just sitting there. But then you saw Coffee trying to make those plays. XY's defense really, really good. And did manage to hang on. It looked so scary when he was going to lose that bottom right base. It looked like it was going to get cut off. Turns out dropping 25 auto turrets on the opponent's army is pretty damned good.
Yeah, just having a ton of Ravens, you really can't go wrong. I mean, as long as you have your hotkeys and the ability to use them. But yeah, the Raven is just so damn good in TVT late game, and both those players know it. XY using them a little bit better there. And let's have a look at game two, guys. I can't wait to get amongst it, but unfortunately we'll have to wait for the break. But we'll see you after that break very, very shortly for game two between XY and Coffee. Don't go away. G'day, StarCraft fans. Welcome back. We are in the midst of our first best of 5 of the evening for the DreamHack Masters Chinese main event here. We're in the bracket stage, deep within it, in fact. Over halfway, I am Maynard, and with me is Pig. And currently, Coffee is down 1-0 against XY, the old man river of the Chinese scene, looking real good at the start of this series.
Absolutely. It looked not amazing in terms of, Coffee took an economic lead. Coffee was more assertive on the map. But talk about just defend really well, crushing multiple pushes that seemed to catch him out of position. I mean, this was twice in the game. Coffee came over. The first one caught him completely out of position, killed the tank in the natural, sieged the Marines and tanks there. Every tank gets interference matrixed, and bam, it doesn't matter. Turns out, getting your tanks in a good spot often can turn into a compromise spot when you're dealing with as much Raven energy as XY is banking up.
Yeah, absolutely. The Raven really showing why it's been thrown into late game TVT meta, and I think it's honestly that late game Raven thing, getting the the Corvid reactor, the Raven energy upgrade, and going into multiple starport Raven production. When would you say that hit the meta? I'd say like 2 years, maybe about that long.
Yeah, it might have been even less than that. Honestly, I guess it's been a little while. It's definitely become dominant in the last year, right? Where players, everybody's doing it. It's all over the ladder. And the thing is, it's hard to pull off. It's like really hard because they are fragile. But it is just one of those things where their value over time is nuts. And the value for the supply, when you're both dealing with a maxed out situation, which often arrives in TVT, a unit that can drop 4 auto turrets at once is damned good value for 2 supply. This man seems to know it better than anybody else. In the top left side of the map, representing IG, it is XY.
And at the bottom right, also representing IG, currently down in the series. Looking to tie it up, though, in the red, this is Coffee. Now, Pig, we have some aggression here from our boy.
Indeed.
He was so impatient with game 1. He's like, "I'll get you, old man."
Silly old man with your Raven turtle. 2 barracks inside the natural. Oh, he's looking for it.
He's found it.
There's a reason I
Huge.
went for the old man, Maynard. Old men got those instincts.
Brain too big,
Yeah.
too smart, he's too experienced.
Well, and he's like, the wise thing would be to then just chill out as Coffee and back off. You're not going to find the damage, right? No, Coffee's super overeager. XY knows that Coffee wants to finish this series. Coffee wants to take the fight to him, wants to get multitasking. Coffee, what is Coffee's big strength, but also his weakness? We talk about it in TVP. It's once he gets multi-prong going, he doesn't stop. Oh, dude.
This is cute.
That's definitely going to die. There's no way that barracks
no. There is no second barracks here. No one has SCV pathing that lucky. So down it goes. And the other SCV on the right side coming down to try and finish that second barracks. Obviously, if both these got cancelled, Coffee may have left this game. He really wants this to work, and he would be super far behind back at home if these just got delayed and he played footsies with SCVs forever. XY is doing all the right things here. He's just parking on the ramp with his Reaper. He's even getting a bunker to really respect this.
Yeah.
He's winning the Reaper battle. That's dead.
Coffee, what are you doing, buddy?
Yeah,
that was wild.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, XY just calmly handled that. That was a nonsense move from Coffee. It's the exact same move Coffee tried last night against Time. He did the exact same thing. Coffee has got to check himself with those Reaper engagements. That's 2 nights in a row. He's really made an obvious mistake in hanging around in a fight which he was clearly losing. So, well played by XY so far. And Coffee's aggression not working out. Maynard, this is a very rough start. I mean, finishing the second barracks, I think is a huge mistake. This is great for XY. He's like, oh yeah, dump more money into those super delayed Reapers that achieve nothing.
Yeah, this is extra donation to the Feed XY Foundation, as far as I'm concerned. That means his factories later, his any semblance of getting a natural or something like that to try and get away with that on his side of the map, considering that XY only has 1 Reaper. That's not going to happen either. He's building a Cyclone right now, and that's just to handle a counterattack, which may or may not come.
Well, it's definitely coming, Maynard. Look at the natural of Coffee. There's a special counterattack. It's a proxy starport in his natural. I just noticed it. I was like, no way. I was like, what? Now, I don't...
Is this going to make a lib?
Yeah, I don't know what... Because he can't fit a tech lab there. So I think it's just a Liberator. Why put it in the natural, though? There's so many places where it's, like, more secret.
Yeah, what if you put your starport in your main base and just made a Liberator there, and then it used its ability to fly as a flying unit to go from one side of the map to the other?
I mean, I like the rush distance advantage here, because if the Cyclone comes out, it's really good. Like, a lot of time people are kind of late on their anti-air afterwards, but definitely, I actually think Banshee would have been what I would have wanted. Like, get Cloak as well.
Is this nerd building a Marine in the main base of his opponent?
Yeah, that's a Chad move, Maynard.
That is. I mean, Coffee may lose this game, but he will always have my respect for trying to do that.
That's actually like, yeah, one of those things where it's like, if they ignore the barracks and you get like a Marine out and wedge it in the minerals where the SCVs can't surround it, it's not going to kill a lot, but it will trigger your opponent. Like, it will absolutely annoy the heck out of
It'll just upset them. Now, there is a Cyclone, which will be able to deal with this Liberator. How many SCVs? Yeah. So Lib gets 2 SCVs. Yeah, not worth 3.
I mean, not really worth it in of itself, but oh yeah, he floats it back. He's gonna go Banshee, Maynard.
Oh, I love it.
He floats it back to the 5th base, and he comes in the front. Remember, Coffee's economy is already small. Every SCV he loses is massive. Luckily, the command center finishes. Otherwise, he'd be in a huge problem. But still, this is a scary situation for Coffee to be in right now, because his economy was already so wounded. XY is taking a 3rd.
He's taking a 3rd. He's building it on location, which is very, very greedy. Coffee knows about it. Reaper jumps up into the main base, escapes the lock-on there of the Cyclone, but his days are numbered. It's not going to last too much longer, of course. I mean, it does heal. Looks like it's going to get an SCV, actually. Oh, never mind.
XY babysits those SCVs really nicely. Keeps 2 of them alive in the deep red. And unfortunately, that 3rd command center has not had an SCV sent to it just yet. That's a big mistake from XY there. So that 3rd on location does get punished. It's actually proxy Raven. Now, obviously, they can drop auto turrets immediately, or they can just float home. But either way, this offsets the cost of proxying the starport, where, you know, floating it all the way home means you're so far behind on Raven.
So weird. Coffee knows about it, too. It looks like he scouted it with his air units. And that Raven made from the starport is actually lucky that Cyclones aren't parked on that starport and killing it, because it absolutely could have died to those Cyclones. In fact, it's going to join up with the army of XY, which seems to be pushing Coffee here on the left side.
Army advantage, worker advantage. Why not keep looking for those trades? XY not just turtling up this time around. He's going to go super aggressive and see exactly how he can push forwards. Cyclone down below and some units there. Could come from 2 angles at once. Ravens are going to need to snap down those auto turrets very quickly.
Yeah. It's going to be auto turret spam, everyone's favorite part of TVT. A 2nd Raven actually gets made from the starport. Now there's an equal Raven count for either player.
Ooh, Maynard! Oh, the Raven! Oh, interference matrix. And look at this. This is a great fight for XY. Auto turrets come down defensively, though. Might have to pull out of those auto turrets.
He tried. Actually, one Cyclone kind of body blocked the other 2. But it's still a fair bit from XY here in the natural. He's outnumbering what Coffee's got here, and he's sending SCVs in, but the Hellion's still alive, so it's actually getting some good splash damage lines off on those SCVs, and oh my god, so much damage. XY, I mean, obviously he's losing his push army here, which is a lot of units and a lot of resources, but he's also, you know, on the other side of the spectrum, he has knocked his opponent down to a 17 worker deficit and has a 3rd base.
And he's playing mech, man.
He's playing mech.
XY picked this map. He picked Romanticide.
Is that a 4th?
Yeah. Oh, what? No.
XY, come now. Is this Marine King?
Dude. That's 4th command center on 1 factory. Literally, he dropped it before his 2nd and 3rd factory started. That is actually just bananas. Like, XY's like, oh, he has like 35 workers. I think I need 85 just to know I'm ahead. Like, what? This is ridiculous.
He's like, I could be up 15 workers, or I could be up 30 workers. Let's make that happen.
Double armory as well. Oh, yeah. So the funny thing is, mech takes a while to finish the game. This potentially gives Coffee a chance to get back in it. But he is trailing, of course, by 20 workers. And maybe some good Raven harass or something like that could help. As it is, Coffee's going to have just such a big economy. The weakness is just his production's very low. So one good fight could still turn things heavily in the favor of Coffee.
Yeah, I mean, he's getting stem. He's obviously still making bio. He's getting Viking. So the power of what Coffee is doing is that he's going to have mobility. He'll have the ability to honestly expand a lot on his side of the map, but he's being out expanded by the mech guy right now because of how the start of this game went. Just losing so much of his SCVs, also going for the proxy barracks. He's kind of shot himself in the foot economically there. So yeah, it's weird, but the mech guy is out expanding the bio guy.
Indeed, and that's going to be a fantastic start into the next phase of the action. Tank count, Vikings, Hellions all building. Scan does see that it's mech. And XY is building extra turrets. He's taking gases on his 4th base main.
Oh, huge supply block for Coffee, by the way. 101, no depots in sight. Just starts 2 now.
When he's under pressure, Coffee does have a problem with supply blocks. As we saw yesterday, too many at that 93, 101, and 109. The points where a lot of Terrans get caught there.
Yeah, the 141 is another big one as well.
Oh, yeah. It's right when all your production's kicking in, right? You just got this massive amount of units coming out. So even as you build depots, you're like instantly supply blocked. It's just like depot finishes, 8 supply spent. Depot finishes, 8 supply spent. You're going to start building them 3 at a time for a little bit.
My big blocks were always 46 and 141. I remember those numbers forever. biggest supply block numbers. I don't know what it is about 141. I guess, like you said, it's when your production's kicking in. So we've got Blue Flame on the way here for the Hellions, in the Ravens. 4th and 5th factory also finishing up now for XY, getting his add-ons ready for it. It's going to be a lot of tech labs coming in from now on, and even like smart servers here, transformation servers coming down for Viking landing speed, Hellbat morph speed, things that could be useful, but. An upgrade that, honestly, I wouldn't have been shocked if the mech player just completely foregone for something else.
Yeah, this is going to be just such an overwhelming amount of economy. But the army is still pretty even, and the supply, like the production is not that crazy yet. So as good as XY's economic growth is, his ability to recover in these games will be fantastic. He's trying to build turrets on the edges just to make sure drops can't get in there. Very nice. Viking advantage. Does it actually go to XY in this scenario? I'm not sure what the numbers are.
You're supposed to have more Vikings as the mech guy actually have to make medevacs, but there aren't any medevacs here, Pig.
Yeah, so that's why I'm a little worried is that the echoes are all nice. Does break those front 2 tanks. Other tanks do shepherd the Marines back for a moment. And just got to pull those SCVs back. I think XY wants to just jump on it. And the Hellbats don't buffer for all that long.
Yeah,
wow.
The Vikings were parked over those Marines forever, so he lost a good bit of hit points on those Vikings, but it didn't seem to matter in the end. Like he just, like a caveman with a giant club, just bonked the head of Coffee there. And it really doesn't matter how advanced you are as a species, a club still caves your head in.
Ogre mech smash good when you have 5 command centers versus 3 when you're up in workers this long, and you can obviously just afford to keep doing that. I mean, the supply advantage is literally so big that our overlay keeps kind of like going, oh, he's so far ahead, and freaking out there, which is why you'll occasionally see those symbols where XY's supply is. That's the overlay actually detecting this is an unfair supply advantage for XY right now.
Yeah, it's almost like XY is saying.
Indeed, you gotta make sure you be careful with that, man. You gotta hold that down.
I'll never say that word again. I'll get cancelled.
Yeah, that's wow. Didn't think I'd hear that in a live broadcast. Whew.
Yeah, sorry to my parents. I know they watch every single one of my casts. Yeah, we got 9 o'clock, or 8 o'clock, just about to be taken. Looks like Coffee's gonna try and intercept that. Or at least be annoying and block it.
Coffee as well, so he's gonna try and go and just take control of the skies with range libs and Vikings, right? Which is smart for Coffee. Coffee's like, don't even focus on getting 2-2 bio upgrades. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. All that matters is if I can control the skies, I can negate his tank advantage. He's going to be like, at 20 tanks, I'm going to have like 6. But if those tanks can't siege, then we are actually in it with a good chance to win it.
I kind of like what Coffee's doing here. This is one of the greatest ways to deal with mech if you're the buyer guy, is to try and wrestle air away from them and go ham on Liberators. And he's getting the Fusion Core as well for the advanced ballistics for the extra range on him. Ooh. So he can start winning battles against the superior tank count, but oh my god, XY, he's coming on in. Hellbat's taking the charge.
This is just such a committed push right now. There's so few units firing. What's Coffee got? Like 2 tanks? My god. He's just got nothing there. Way too outnumbered. And XY, 6th Sense, handles that proxy like so easily. And Coffee doubles down on it. Definitely, I think he should have cancelled it at the moment that first barracks finished. Cancel the second one and ease out of that push. But as it was, a massive overcommitment, sending 3 SCVs across the map to get it built. And yeah, that's just a rough start to things there for Coffee.
Well, I'm kind of hoping that Coffee fights back here and we get a bit more of a series out of him. Otherwise, we're going to have 3 3-0s in a row in the bracket stage for China here. which would, yeah. I mean, it doesn't bother me, but it does mean it's a short broadcast.
Indeed. Finding that straight away is such a good feeling for XY, and it's interesting to see Coffee recycle this one after trying it a bunch of times yesterday. He's clearly been winning a lot of games in practice with that Proxy Reaper opening, and this time around is not the case. This push here for XY tanks through the turrets, loses a few Cyclones. Remember, Coffee was already behind, and then you kill another 10 SCVs, and behind this you secure your 4th command center. A just disgusting level of greed behind this aggression, and pretty much impossible for Coffee to come back from there.
Yeah, indeed. The Hellions, not really a factor super hard in this battle. They kind of just are fodder for XY's army, but what he does have is everything else. Superior firepower in these 1-1 tanks. The air army, huge advantage for XY. Coffee really just did not expect to be that far down in air control, and in tanks specifically, the tank count just completely annihilating him when push came to shove there, and XY he just knew. He's been playing Coffee like a fiddle these past 2 games, honestly. Like, even though they've been relatively lengthy games, they have been like, there's never been a point where Coffee's winning. You know what I mean? It's always been XY sort of getting to a certain point where he looks good, and is just stretching that lead, and just chilling.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's like massive leads early, slowly finish it up in the late game. It's not a bad way to do it. Now, I wonder if that was just a romanticized special, or if we will see more mech later on in this series. Obviously, a little bit dependent on the maps. I can't imagine maps like Lightshade, it's 2000 Atmos, it's really the best thing to do, since there's so many wide open paths for the bio to come on running through. But either way, it definitely seems like a very defensive focus for XY. Coffee very aggressive. I think we're going to need to see a switch up, or the series could be over in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, indeed. The onus is on him, of course, to win the next 3 maps in a row, which honestly I think is doable, but he's not been giving me a ton of confidence. In fact, I'm you know, leaking confidence like a 6-year-old espresso machine right now. I'm not feeling it at the moment for Coffee. But I really want to believe that a reverse sweep is possible here for the young lad.
I think it is. I mean, look at their head-to-head stats over the last few years, Maynard. It has been dominant for Coffee. I do think Coffee's the better multitasker. There's just things where you look at the way XY is playing and you go, okay, this is pretty good strategically and so on. But there are a lot of ways to make things escalate, just small interactions. And all you want to do here as Coffee is you want to increase and amplify the frequency of those interactions. If you think you're faster, you just need to make him dance. Just pull the old man onto the dance floor, make him dance. You're going to see how frail and old he is. And I know obviously this is like a silly metaphor we're using. He's not ancient, but trust me, there is a speed differential between these 2 players. We've seen it at a few points. The SCV forgetting to go rebuild that 3rd in that game. It's a huge issue, but Coffee has gone super greedy, 1-rack 6-man game 1, trying to get ahead in the long game, which even though he got ahead, he wasn't able to do anything with it. So that clearly is not really the way it's going to work. But then he goes in the other extreme direction of, well, I'm just going to cheese you with 2 barracks in your natural, and Proxy Reaper itself is not the craziest idea, but building it inside the natural of your opponent, that gets found. It gets shut down, as we saw in that game. I think for Coffee here, double gas, make some Reaper Alien, get a Marine drop going across the map early, or maybe the tank elevator build, get something just light pressure. You don't have to overcommit to it. Start dancing here with XY, put some pressure on him. I think you're going to see XY turtle up really hard, then you can be a bit greedy behind it. Build your 3rd on location, go to the next step, look for those mid-game doom drops, those pushes. Nothing to me says that XY can keep up with you as Coffee if you're dancing with him in that more dynamic game.
Completely agree. You know, use your strengths, and don't let your opponent stop you or block your ability to use your physical advantages over it, like the speed, like the multitasking, that sort of thing, like you listed. I mean, you can see why XY would like to play mech here. You know, it's hard to out-multitask a mech guy. Like, I mean, well, it's not hard to out-multitask him, but it's hard for multitasking to matter when he's sitting behind 16 turrets and 4 siege tanks per base and that kind of thing. Like, it's just, you can't just be everywhere at once against a guy like that. But anyway, in the top right, on match point, looking really good in this series so far. From Invictus Gaming, this is XY.
Bottom left side, he's going to need to win the next 3 maps in a row, or he will be going out in 4th place in the Chinese region. In the bottom left, representing Invictus, it is Coffee.
He's currently on struggle street in this series. He's gone for the second gas. Both players actually gas at the exact same time. It's about 17. But then you sort of look, are they going to saturate those gases and keep them saturated, or are they just going to get that little bit of a gas injection and saturate it later? Again, like we talked about it in game 1, it's a lot more common now in TBT for, oh, Coffee's not happy about the series. I feel you. It's not good. I feel you, man. We believe, though, Coffee. Believe in yourself. It's the only belief you need.
You know, it's pretty hard for Coffee going up against the overpowered race here in Terran. XY has the unfair pieces, Maynard, so it's just rough to deal with.
The better tools.
Much better tools. Like, honestly, you know, I feel like Coffee here is using like a wooden mallet. You know, he has like a stick that he uses and a rock to try and hammer things in, and it's power tools for XY. He's got the Ravens, he's got the mech, the high tier, high tech stuff. Dude, he could fix anything.
That's right. It's like trying to beat a guy with a chainsaw with just a regular, like, you know, rubber mallet. I mean, technically it's possible, but you wouldn't want to be that guy, that's for sure. You'd want to be the chainsaw guy. Yeah,
like you can chop a tree down with a rock. It'll just take you a few weeks. Like, you know, a chainsaw, probably less than a day, I would imagine, as long as the tree's not too big.
That's right. Well, most of those trees will take minutes even.
Can we change the topic now, Maynard? I've run out of every tool I know. I've never stepped outside of my gaming room in my house.
Let's keep pulling on this thread and see where we go.
The more I talk about this, the more I realize I don't know how to use a screwdriver, okay?
So which Terran's the Phillips head, Pig, and which Terran's the flat head?
Who's Phillips? What?
Who's Phillips? Their heads aren't flat. I've seen their pictures. Oh, man. This is such great commentary, by the way. People pay us to do this, by the way, guys. Just letting you know out there in chat if you want to be outraged. We do have reacted Reapers coming out here from Coffee.
With Cyclone.
With the Cyclone, right? Yeah, exactly. So a little bit different. A little bit different. Built different.
Interesting to see that. So, I mean, obviously, reacted Reapers is normally like I'm going to dive Reaper Hellion in. But this looks like, oh, okay. I think Coffee is going to just set those up for a backstab, and he's going to wait for XY to move out and then try to run in and kill a whole bunch of SCVs. If he just jumps them in the base and runs into the mineral line, that's a disaster waiting to happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he's doing it. Oh, this is so silly.
All right, well, Reapers are going to jump into the main base here. A Cyclone is about to pop. Now they will get an SCV by the looks of things.
One SCV for 3 Reapers ain't a good trade, Maynard. Okay, he does get 1 Reaper as well, but still a very bad trade. And that's, I mean, the thing is, doubling, I don't mind people doing that with 1 Reaper, with 2. It's like, yeah, okay, why not? Maybe he'll have moved out on the map and it could be really worth it. But with 3 Reapers, it just seems like, why dump all that gas into that expense? Whereas if you wait for XY to move out or something like that, you know, the 3 Reaper investment can make sense. You could kill 1 Reaper or Hellion at home, get 4 or 5 SCVs. As it is, Coffee, it's not the biggest thing. Don't get me wrong. It's not going to lose him this game. They're both going Ravens tanks. He's just a little bit behind on that gas count because of that.
Yeah. Yeah, the problem with that is you have lost any potential of getting map control as well. Like, you really can't go out there and do anything for a while, which never feels comfortable in StarCraft when you have to just sit there in the dark and wait.
Extra barracks going down really early for Coffee. You're talking about interaction. 3 racks constantly dropping, a good way to do it. And the Reaper sees it. Oh my god, immediately as the barracks go down. So XY is going to be like, well, I already like turtling. Now I'm definitely going to turtle because I know you're going a super late 3rd command center. As XY, this is such valuable scouting information. And
that's
Coffee,
worth a Reaper.
Absolutely. I don't think this is the end of the world for Coffee, but I definitely consider just power. Pause production, drop a 3rd command center. So that, you know, because this has already been scouted, you're not going to be able to do damage to XY on 2 base. Lean out of this. You know your opponent is actually very, very intelligent. You've seen the info. Just take a 3rd and wait until he takes his 3rd base before you really force the issue. Do not try to force it early because he's going to be ready for you.
Yeah. Upgrades kicking in now for Coffee. Obviously, his bio is going to have that extra little bit of oomph to it when he gets there. The push is happening through the middle here, trying to get that ledge on Oxide. We've seen Coffee actually try and go for a similar push when they played this game last time. It was a lot earlier, a lot more YOLO, a lot more one-basey. There was medevac involved, but this can be great if he can close the distance and get to that special spot right in range of the production and the ramp. XY's Hellion sees it, he's confirmed it, he knows he's under attack. And the correct play here is what XY is doing. Spread out the siege tanks, sit back with the Ravens and wait.
And likewise, Coffee dropping that third on location, not forcing the issue, just saying, yeah, okay, let's get a good positional advantage with these earlier Marines. And I was going to say, don't miss a beat on your macro. So, you know, SCVs, depots. SCVs, depots, mules is going to be important. If Coffee can avoid that dreaded supply block, I think he'll be in a really good spot. XY, of course, has got a very slight worker lead. He's got the triple Raven, which are insanely valuable in the right situation. He's actually going to do a U-thermal Maynard of the triple Raven run by. Dude, that... I've seen that win games where that just goes in and it just blankets 2 mineral lines with auto turrets, kills like 25 SCVs, and that really puts the pressure on the opponent to attack in.
Yeah, I love it. It's super common for the 1 Raven run by. The triple Raven, though, no one expects that. And that's something that even if you react quickly, you're still going to lose 10 workers. It's a lot of auto turrets if they can get in range of your command center and you haven't immediately, as soon as that pixel shows up in your minimap, started to pull your workers.
Yeah, as long as XY has his Vikings and tanks well positioned, this is going to be great damage here, and it's going to be hard for Coffee to answer. Already 5 SCVs going down, a few Marines trying to deal with this. Auto turret
kill the Marines.
Easily going to take care of those Marines. Each auto turret does the damage of about 3 Marines, minus the stim pack. And honestly, great damage. So many SCVs and mining time. This is huge.
Man, looking at XY, it's like you want to take these strategies to your own games. You know, it's very, very easy to go for like a 2-base expand with a Raven, and then just once you get up your third, send those 3, and you know you're under attack after. Obviously, you know you sat back with your tanks, take those 3 Ravens, go across the map, and just blanket your opponent with auto turrets, which are completely free. And now Coffee basically has had his hand forced, and he's trying to make something happen. The Cyclone kills a medevac. That is unforgivable.
Oh, that's so sick. That Cyclone was waiting over there the whole time for an opportunity like this. Coffee's base is in disarray, Maynard. And honestly, XY, the old dog, is back in action, playing calm, collected, defensive StarCraft. I keep looking at it and saying, come on, look at how... Look, he's not moving out. He's not fighting for map control. Who needs to? Who needs to? He says, look, I might not be the fastest, but I know how to play this game and win. Oh, he's got to watch out, though. Coffee's going to jump on him.
And Coffee's trying to pounce here. There are some unsiege tanks. The left side has a lot of tank power, though. If XY can rotate a little bit to the left side, Coffee's going to eat a lot of shots, but he's going into the natural here where there is not a lot of XY's units. He definitely doesn't have any tanks back here. Coffee potentially may have found the weakness in the armor.
Yeah, every tank moving to the left was a huge mistake there from XY, not keeping himself sieged up. Remember, he's so far behind on that Marine count. Now, that being said, losing the natural is not the end of the game just yet, but his SCVs are getting ravaged. That tank on the high ground has to beat 5 tanks and 20 Marines. I don't think he's got the numbers. XY secured this series, Maynard, and look at how quickly things turn around.
Yeah, Coffee, I mean, if he can get rid of these Marines, then maybe XY's got himself the ability to hold here. He's got 1 tank remaining. He pulls it back a little ways there. Coffee's in range of it, though, with the scan. That tank is not going to be long for this world. It gets some shots off. It kills one of the tanks of Coffee there on the ramp. It's very uncomfortable here for XY, but the Ravens are coming back. The MVPs for this video game. Can they get it done for XY one more time and seal this deal? I think they might be able to.
Yeah, I mean, they'll clean the tanks, but he's lost his third control at the same time, and just a bit too much damage there for Coffee. The Ravens, I mean, that's it. Coffee's looked so good at defending when his Ravens were around. This time, Ravens on the other side of the map, and he was not careful enough with his tanks and Vikings. Unsieging all of his units and moving out like that was absolute madness. I mean, after turtling so well for so long, an unfortunate move, and I think what happened for XY is he started building the sensor tower, and he kind of just assumed Coffee had pulled back to defend the Ravens. And he was like, yeah, I can kind of see if he comes in on the right side, it'll be cool. We just need to cover the left. The sensor tower wasn't finished at that time, and the army just walked right up in.
GG.
Oh, my lord.
Man. And TVT be like that, dude. The tank is king in this matchup, and if you can just avoid the tank entirely, like what Coffee managed to do in that game, he honestly got really lucky that the tanks just weren't there in the natural. There's 3 tanks for the natural. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. Or if they're spread out a little bit more between the natural and the third, that does not happen. But 3 tanks were in a tight cluster on the far left side of that third base. And it's like, well, XY is trying to pull Coffee over there with these Marines. He's like, no, come over here. I trust me. There's, there's biscuits. There's a, free bar. Go nuts. But no, it's actually 3 siege tanks. And Coffee's like, I don't believe you. I'm going up the natural where there's absolutely nothing. And he killed the natural, killed a bunch of SCVs, and even with those Ravens getting, what was it, 20-something SCV kills in the end with their auto turrets?
I think it was about 30, man.
Yeah, there you go. 30 SCVs with their auto turrets. Coffee's like, yeah, well, I've killed 2 command centers in just that much. So what's up?
Yeah. Massive turnaround in that game. And honestly, this series has been a little bit wild so far. Definitely not the games I expected, but Chinese TVT is a different thing. You take this down to not just Chinese TVT, but it is XY TVT, Coffee TVT, and they have a very particular meta between the two of these guys. They've known each other for a long time. So, you know what? The series is going to continue. It's not going to be a 3-0, and I'm very happy about that because yesterday was a bit of a clean sweep, and it looks like now we're going to start to get some series on our hands.
Indeed. And when we return, guys, it's going to be XY versus Coffee, Game 4. We'll see you then. G'day, StarCraft fans, and welcome back to the DreamHack Masters Chinese main event here in the midst of our best of 5 between Coffee and XY. Now, Game 1 and Game 2, Coffee was a bit of a soy latte, but Game 3 turned himself around into a double-shot Italian espresso. Pig, your thoughts on this story so far?
I honestly feel like we're seeing much better openings out of XY in terms of playing to his strengths. Coffee playing into I think, the hands a little bit, but found the opening in that last game and kept himself alive. Let's be real, though. He's been making mistakes to put himself in these bad situations. Coffee has been playing into the hands of XY. He went for a triple Reaper dive scout, which is a very, very, just not a strong move if they're sitting at home. And not only that, he then got map control, but he didn't put spotters out to watch for drops or ravens coming across the map. Getting surprised by triple raven coming across the map. When you're containing your opponent on 2 base, there's always a chance of them dropping or counter-attacking you in some way. To not even attempt to have spotters out there for map control, you know, you're going to take hits like that 30 SCVs he lost to the Ravens. Coffee was very lucky that XY let his guard down and moved all of his tanks out of position at the end of that game. So I think that's what Coffee needed. He's got the confidence boost from that. Now's the time to amp it up and clean up these build orders and play the tight games that we're used to seeing him play. He's gotten a few freebies. He got one back there. Got to win the next 2 games in a row. This is Coffee.
And in the top left here in the blue, still on match point. Don't forget that. He's 1 map away from victory. Can he do it here in Lightshade? This is XY.
You were just saying in the break, Maney, wondering, yeah, you know, mech on Lightshade? It is XY's map pick. Doesn't seem like a turtley map, does it? And he's been pretty turtley so far.
Yeah, well, he picked the map, so you have to assume that he's got something on it that he likes to do. It looks like it's going to be a 1 gas expand.
Yeah, a bit of a dangerous build order, as we've mentioned, in terms of reliability, but does give you such a good economic start. So as long as you don't mind taking a gamble on, okay, I won't be safe first, quick Banshee. Something like that. Like, there's just one thing, 1 or 2 things that you're like, okay, I'm just not going to play safe against that, but I'll be good versus everything else. And it's not too bad.
And with the SCV kiss in the middle of the map, we are now getting into Gentleman's Agreement TVT here. One player, of course, going double gas, the other one going single gas. Faster command center for XY, faster factory for Coffee. Now, Pig, what are you looking at here?
That's a Marine. XY is playing purely defensively. Gonna just... Wait, Marine to Reaper? Huh?
That's interesting.
Yeah,
I thought that he was. I thought he was going to save that. Like, the point of going Marine is that you save that gas and you go into the factory a little bit quicker. But
yeah, which keeps you safe, because even though your first Marine can lose a duel to the Reaper, Marines build quicker, so you just keep building Marines, right? And then you can have a quicker Hellion to kind of shore up your defenses. But yeah, an odd choice. That Marine needs to go back inside. I guess the Reaper will come out and join it. And a very quick bunker as well to add to the safety. So should be right to defend that.
Yeah, it should be right, mate. Don't worry about it. Good hold there. Holds the ramp as well. And the multiple Reaper opening here from Coffee, it does have potential to zig up into the main base and maybe zag into some SCVs and take them out. Get a bit of a scout off as well, but it is heading towards that point in the game where the window shuts on the Reaper's efficacy. And it's more about getting the Marine count up and getting into factory units.
Yeah, Coffee's just like, I don't need to build anything out right now. Let's just go to the next step. You're playing so defensive, like there's no pressure I have to worry about. I've got 2 Reapers to kind of contain you. Gonna try and jump up, but wise choice to pull back there as he gets shot from the high ground. Yeah, so very quick starport for Coffee was the adjustment here, not building anything like a Cyclone early on. And I wonder, does Coffee just go Ravens? Does Coffee try to do something aggressive here? The starport is right next to that reactive barracks, and that always makes me think about a swap.
Yeah. Same. Haven't seen anything for the starport just yet. Feels like it might be a little bit mistimed, the build order, just because of how long it has to sit there doing nothing. But it could definitely be aggressive. Okay, it is going to be aggressive. Medevac straight away here from Coffee, which means he does want to hit pretty hard and pretty early.
Yeah, a good way to put pressure on. I was talking about this earlier. Try and interact with your opponent as much as possible. Exercise those. We do feel like Coffee's a bit faster than XY, a little bit more active, a bit more confident in a mobile game, whereas XY is more of a turtler. So definitely something where Marines tanks, you know, drop at that tank on the low ground, try to get that position can be good. XY's build is perfect against this, though. He's building the safety Viking. Now, in this scenario with the 1-Rax expand, normally you just fly that straight out front of your production to try and catch this medevac on the way in.
Oh, medevac spotted by the Hellion here, as long as XY is looking at the minimap.
That's going to be fantastic for him. He's got a tank as well. That's coming towards the natural, so he should be moving down there with all of his units. Marines, yeah, they've unloaded. Nice tank positioning.
Yeah, very nice. One of the most strongest parts for a tank harass/push here on Nightshade. This does mean that XY is just going to have to take some damage. Not a whole lot he can do about this.
Viking
Not until
can
he
always
has
push
enough
the
units to
medevac
dive.
back, though. So yeah, the tank can't stay there because it'll lose vision. So the Viking does push this back. Minimal losses overall, and a super quick third command center in the main for XY. Building Ravens and tanks. And interesting that XY completely skipped the Cyclone this game, I believe, is just going into tanks and the Viking for the anti-air. So far, it's worked out okay. Oh, very nice. But
starport
2 versus 1.
And this reactive starport Viking stuff is very hard to deal with when you just have the one starport with a tech lab.
He's got another tank there, but do you have a scan, XY?
The answer is yes. He's got one scan, but the tank is out of range. It's just out of position.
Oh, he gets a shot off. Oh, those Marines need to go forward.
No, Coffee. Tanks are a little bit too close there. He's taking some big hits, but the Vikings being landed are going to take out that tank defensively of XY, and he's in the main. The call is coming from inside the house. This is still pretty brutal for XY.
Tank will pop, though. Tank will pop. Remember, XY has way more economy, but that tank goes down. He's got so little firepower. It's just SCVs and 1 Marine, Maynard.
Oh, man, the SCVs got shredded there by the Vikings and the landed Marines with medevac support. More SCVs come to their death. Desperation for here for XY as he is bleeding resources and Coffee with a less than 6-minute response there. Ties up the series. All of a sudden, all that good work that XY did over half an hour of slow, careful, methodical, surgical TVT games were just undone by, you know, about 15 minutes worth of madness from this 21-year-old kid. Just like, nope, aggro time. This is my wheelhouse.
It's exactly what he needed to do as well. We saw it there. It's hard to cover every option with the 1-Rax expand because he can avoid the bunker. He can avoid where your tanks are sieged up, and that reacted Vikings coming out, skipping Ravens entirely. A great choice for Coffee, and it pays off in a big way. Gets the position, gets the momentum, and just rolls him right over. XY's like, I've got 3 command centers finished. Coffee hasn't even started his 3rd one. Doesn't matter because he finds the killing blow right there. Yeah, right here, the game is honestly already over. As soon as that tank got picked off, there wasn't really any lifeline for XY anymore. And Coffee knew it. It was a great idea to stick around, even a little bit of Cube Micro there with the medevac on the Viking, because why not? Just get as much out of the unit as you can. And XY just caught with his pants down, with Coffee getting aggro with the early medevac and finding a win. It's one of those things where, you know, we would say don't try this at home because it does take a lot of micro, and of course you can't just sit there on one base. I mean, there are some one-base builds that have pushes like this, but they're not anywhere near as good as what Coffee did there, where you have a couple command centers, actually a relatively decent work account, and you could very often find damage, and then when you come back home, you've actually got an economic lead, and you can turn that into a regular game of StarCraft, rather than just go all in on one base. Indeed, the Ravens need time to gather energy, right? And that sort of push is like, yeah, you've got 1 auto turret, and then you're dead. So Ravens don't look so good when you spend 200 gas to get 1 auto turret down for a few seconds. Like it's a terrible trade. So it almost is a specific counter to that sort of build order, especially when they do kind of cut out the Cyclone from the build and that sort of thing. So really good, just kind of flexible pressure. He gave up on the first angle after just a couple of SCVs, pulled back, recycled those units on the 2nd round. That sort of just calm, flexible interacting. That's where we've kind of said Coffee looks like the play. He's got to have the advantage there. It's not even necessarily about XY's speed. It's XY doesn't want to interact. The way he's playing is purposely trying to avoid interaction. It's set up my defenses and macro like a beast. It's been working for him in the first few games, but now suddenly, so quickly, the story changes and we're in game 5. This man needs just 1 more to get the reverse sweep. In the bottom left-hand side, getting that momentum going. It is Coffee.
And in the top right, he is still on match point, but he is losing momentum. Can he win the final game and clinch off the series he's been working so hard for? This is XY. barracks first from Coffee. And then the gas. All right, all right. So, yeah, barracks and then... and it was actually a gas first for XY. Small differences there.
Yeah, we'll see exactly how it evolves from there, as definitely going to be interesting to see what that kind of flows into. Of course, having the earlier gas can always give you just that tech a little bit quicker, the fast factory. Very nice, especially if you're going to do something like maybe swap the factory onto the reactor, get out 4 or 6 Hellions early. That can always be a nice way to get started.
Yeah, certainly. We'll keep an eye on that gas saturation there for XY as he starts to round out his build. He's not usually an aggro boy. Like, yeah, you know, we've been seeing in a lot of his games, he is going to be the one that will favor macro and defense and reaction over getting out there on the map. And I also think, like, you know, getting aggressive against someone like Coffee is basically playing to Coffee's strengths as well. That's something that Coffee is used to playing against in the way that he likes to play, so he knows it well and he knows how to defeat it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if he can kind of get in those situations again. And so far, it does feel like it's very, very similar. Oh, reactor goes down very quickly for Coffee.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So one Reaper into the reactor. He could go into multiple Reaper production, which he's done before, after the reactor is done. Or just go straight into Marines if he wants to go for like a fast drop or something like that. He does like the fast medevac plays. And handing a handful of Marines in with that tank can be really nice with that medevac.
So now both players just chilling. XY is going to go for that command center just a few seconds later than Coffee. The tech lab, of course, already almost done there for XY, so it's going to be a very quick Cyclone entering the field, I would imagine.
There's going to be reacted Reapers coming out for Coffee, so still investing a little bit into the early game army. And the Cyclone really does trade so well against these units, against the Reapers and the Hellions, but you know, it can get overwhelmed. So keep an eye on the production here at Coffee and also what the Cyclone gets up to. XY is about to poke the main base, but after the Hellion shot, we'll probably think twice.
Oh,
he's going to lose one here.
Around.
Yeah. Unfortunate there for XY.
Keeping one alive at least is you know, avoids disaster a little bit, right? But definitely could have been a bit better if he stopped before the second ledge jump happened. Very important to watch your Reapers as they jump up. At a high level, people are almost always in position. And a second Cyclone on the way for XY as he heads towards a starport and a third gas.
Yeah, the triple Reaper double Hellion is definitely a very scary early game army. If he was a little bit quicker on the trigger, he might be able to stop the natural command center. In fact, he might still be able to.
Yeah, no, he'll stop it for sure, Maney. Oh!
For sure, though, Pig? You liar?
My gosh. Didn't focus fire. And Depots do get up. Cyclone can defend the Hellion. Push that one back. And that's a lot of units. Oh, he's bringing everything back. XY didn't go for the counterattack there. I really thought his Cyclone Reaper would continue across the map. Oh, whoa, what are we doing, buddy?
He's going to lose everything here. That was not a good call from XY.
He's keeping Cyclones alive. There is advantage.
Oh, no, the Reaper count's getting quite high here. Both Hellions still alive as well. XY!
If he loses that Cyclone, it might just be game. Maynard Marines are not good versus these units.
Oh, man. And the Hellion's still alive as well. The triple Reaper here going to heal in a second as it starts. They don't take damage for a minute. They can start healing again. He's trying to body block with the SCV. He does catch one. These two are still alive. It looks like Coffee is going to get pushed back here, but he's still found more damage in the main base of XY.
For those Marines, they need to close in on this and finish it off. Great Reaper micro from Coffee and gets even one more Marine. Another
low hit point SCVs. Low hit point SCVs.
He can go to the natural. He could even run to the natural there and get another one, but no, he does finally get taken out.
Ah, man. So brutal there for XY. Just a little bit cavalier with those Cyclones. Not really... Oddly enough, he was paying attention to them because he brought them back, but it looked like he kind of wasn't at the same time because they just... He misread the battle completely there.
Banshee's going to come out for XY. It looks like a defensive Banshee just for safety. And is building tanks as well. But that's such a big amount of damage. And just the Cyclone and the Reaper, I honestly feel if he backstabbed... Yes, it's scary because there is more Reaper Hellion coming out, but... he could definitely end up with some cleaner situations and fights going on. So definitely an issue potentially. The barracks does miss the land there on the tech lab. Oh, that barracks pilot's going to get laughed at later, man. His friends are going to make a lot of fun. They're like, really, dude? You missed landing the barracks? Wow.
Yeah. It'd be pretty tilting. Getting to that phase of the game where people are just, you know, realizing that the early game is starting to dwindle, and it's about taking some map control, grab those watchtowers. Cyclone on its way to do that, but actually catches a pretty committed push from Coffee over the right side. The Ravens are here as well. That's how you know he's serious.
Stim on the way, a bit quicker for Coffee, of course. Got that unit advantage right now. This is a bit of a ragtag set of units for XY, and I like that Coffee isn't fully committing just yet. Oh, ow.
Goodbye, Cyclone. Cyclone got deleted out of this video game. Raven advantage kind of for XY, but it looks like there's a little bit more energy cumulatively on the Ravens of Coffee. Main base of Coffee getting ravaged by a single Banshee here. Doesn't look like he has much at home at all.
That's why he's got to watch out, dude. Those Ravens.
Wait, did he pull every SCV? Is every SCV in the natural of Coffee right now? Auto turrets absolutely everywhere. He wants these tanks.
Banshee is doing so much damage, Maynard. 12, 13 SCVs before it goes down. One cloakless Banshee just does devastating damage there. And XY is back in this game economically. Loses a lot of his important fighting units, though. So he's still way down on army. But yeah, I mean, if he can survive a few minutes, that's going to pay off big.
Yeah, I was looking at the minimap there, and I saw this blob of red in the natural and nothing mining in the main base. So while that Banshee killed 13 SCVs, the entire remaining force of SCVs was just sitting in the natural, waiting for these Vikings to come out of that starport. So it wasn't just damage, it was denied mining time as well. And yeah, big economic advantage there for XY for quite a while. Obviously, that gap is going to change as time goes forward, but he is going to use that window to start mustering up a little bit more of a force and to fight back. And it looks like his choice is to try and power into the mid-game, going for the double upgrades for the bio. Still has that Raven advantage as well, but doesn't have a Viking advantage. That's a lot of Vikings for Coffee.
Yeah, big army coming across the map here for Coffee. XY down 5 Marines, down a siege tank, down 4 Vikings. Has one more Raven, but with 6 Vikings out, I don't know if that's going to cut it.
There comes the auto turrets for both players here. The auto turrets kind of get deleted. They did their job, though. They tanked for either side. Speaking of tanks, so XY's getting some shots off there, and Coffee actually gets rid of all of the Ravens, lands the Vikings on the tanks, and as they unsiege, they get deleted there. I don't even think he lost a Viking during that engagement.
Yeah, these Vikings are just controlling it. The tank's going to get on forward. Ravens are going to go down. At least one of them will. Tank, though, there. The Vikings landing on the high ground. And Coffee, relentless.